prosperity leader, Fan Radio Network.
Okay.
And KFAN.com. 2 minutes and 31 seconds past 3 Central Standard Time. We welcome you back. It is a midweek Wednesday edition of the Bumper to Bumper program on a, getting decidedly by the hour more frigid Wednesday afternoon here in the Twin Cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul. Guardsy produces the program. My name's Dan Barreiro, former Ink-Stain Wretch, newspaper of the Twin Cities. We are delighted that you are along for at least a part of what could end up being an extremely bumpy ride between now and, Guardsy tells me, 6 o'clock today. It's a 3-hour tour today. Preempted a bit early for Golden Gopher men's basketball. It's our Big Ten lid lifter, correct, for the 2025-26 season.
We're playing a football school tonight.
Against the, I believe, Indiana's undefeated in football and basketball. The Hoosiers lost in basketball. They haven't played like a loaded schedule, but I don't think they've lost a game yet. We know Indiana football hasn't lost a game yet.
They have not. Big Ten title game coming up this week.
I mean, who knew? Who knew that Indiana University is now one of the blue bloods, as we like to say in the business, one of the blue bloods. So that is why we're out at 6 o'clock. Eventually, I'll get my verification code in, and we will get to the Bradshaw and Brian KFAN text line as well. More on that later in the broadcast. This is sort of a follow-up to how I started the program yesterday, where I mused during our Toys for Tots event at Shields in Eden Prairie. Thank you for your participation and your generosity.
So which cataclysmic Vikings game do I have to think about today to start the show?
It's got nothing to do with the Vikings in this case, and it's really the other end of the spectrum. As I said, the question yesterday was whether deep down Vikings fans, despite all the moaning and whining and complaining that you do, actually prefer to keep that as your identity, that you wouldn't know what to do if you couldn't do what you just did already. Whine and moan and complain and, poor, pitiful me. Because right now, we are in a prosperous situation when it comes to goaltending in the National Hockey League. You know, we always complain about the trades that we screw up, or we look at other teams who are able to seemingly steal a player or steal a spot in the draft and then prosper for the next 5 to 10 to 15 to 20 years as a result of it. Well, right now, we're that team. Right now, we're the ones who are reaping the benefits of a draft day maneuver that allowed your Minnesota Wild to move up, I believe it was 2 spots. 3 drafts ago. Was it 3 drafts ago or 4? 2021, so I guess that'd be coming up on more than that. And secure the opportunity to draft Mr. Wallstedt, who pitched, I believe, his 4th shutout in, is it 6 games or is it 8 games?
I have to check and do the count.
I had it in front of me, and I lost I forgot to bring my printout. Last night at the expense of Edmonton, and the hockey insiders and hardcores know this, but the hockey casuals might not. That's the team we made the trade with.
I did not know that until last night.
Their pick at number 20 that we stole. And for the record, if you want to further talk about how we are prospering, my understanding is the player they took at 22 isn't even, I think, has already been traded away from the team. That hurts. The 3rd round pick we had to give up to move up 2 spots. In addition, I don't think he's ever even played with the club. I don't think he's a factor at all. Now, big picture, I'm not sure that we can declare Wallstedt the best goaltender in the history of hockey, or at the very least, even yet, the history of the Minnesota Wild.
Might be on the way.
It's a long way from here to there, but all of the signs are quite positive. So, and promising, certainly. So, to that extent, we're that team right now. We are that franchise. we identified a player and a goalie who, and I guess I'd forgotten this part, he was not universally loved at the time of the draft. There were some people who thought he had a chance to be special. There were other people, as young as he was, who thought he was going to be a disaster, that he wasn't mature enough, that there were, in fact, he articulated some of those raps against him. He felt they were false, but he got into that last night after pitching the shutout against Edmonton. Now, it is fair to say, though, even the Wild admit he's made some changes since last season that they feel, team officials feel, have contributed to his turnaround this season, including better conditioning, which was one of the charges against him back during that draft. But we don't have to, in this case, wallow in our misery like, oh, God, look what that team did. They found their goaltender maybe for the next 10 years by just moving up in the draft. Why can't we ever do that? Well, we did. In this case, we have, and last night, it crystallized nicely that the shutout, in this case, his fourth, would come against the team that apparently had no interest in him and was perfectly, and by the way, a franchise that is continues to be desperately in need of a goaltender as well. So we like to think, well, that's us usually. We're the team that gave up or gave up a draft choice or allowed another team to leapfrog us, to take a player that we weren't interested in. Look what that player's doing. We're on the other end of that now. Now it's in Edmonton where they feel like they're the victims. Now, of course, it's all relative. They've had a lot of success as a team, but they haven't been able to take the last step, have they? No. And part of the reason, allegedly, is because they can't find a big-time goaltender.
Fourth shutout in his last 6 games. And Edmonton, I mean, they tested him last night. He had to make 33. I watched about the last period and a half of that one after a scintillating overtime victory for your Minnesota Timberwolves in New Orleans, the always plucky New Orleans Pelicans. And even, like, listening to LaPanta's very excitable, right? He can get the octaves going. I think he's so used to these epic saves by the Great Wall of St. Paul that it's just second nature now to go, another save by Wallstedt. Kicks it away. A lot of activity up front, no problem. Save Wallstedt. Here we go. We're going the other way. Because that's all he's watched, basically, for the last 10 games of his play. It's pretty fun.
It's great.
Because you can't say the Wild had the better of play. You know, we've always talked about that. Yeah. Especially in the playoffs. Well, we dominated. Their goalie just played better. Now it's happening the opposite, too. That's the other way that this has changed, which is fun. People will say, can't say they played great the whole time. They obviously got the goal that they needed, Brodin, which was funny. But you have goaltenders you have a goaltender that's basically either stealing you games, but certainly keeping you in games while you find your own game, which is a fun place to live.
He is the 4th rookie goaltender in the history of the league and the first in 87 years to pitch 4 shutouts in 6 games. Can you name any of the others?
I probably can't, so I probably shouldn't try.
I couldn't. Although I like the nickname of the Boston Bruins goalie who did it most recent in 1928 on the 1928-29 Boston Bruins.
Oh, goodness.
Tiny Thompson.
Tiny Thompson.
Now, does that mean Tiny was literally tiny, or was it the opposite? That Tiny was actually an enormous goaltender for the time.
Yeah.
And so the nickname was against type. Tiny Thompson.
His pads were probably bigger than Jiggy's. They were probably bigger.
The others, actually the most recent is Frank Brimsek, Bruins. Tiny Thompson did it in 1928-29. Somebody named Dolly Dolson did it for the 1928-29 Detroit Cougars.
Oh, interesting.
The Detroit Cougars. I didn't know they were a team.
Tiny wasn't very big. He was only 5'10". So they were being literal.
Well, but I bet you 5'10" then.
You think that was pretty tall?
Might have been pretty tall. Yeah. Don't you think?
I don't know.
How much did he weigh? Do we know?
I don't see his
weight in there. Was it like
160 pounds?
Well, that is pretty tiny then, isn't it?
I think they were.
So maybe they meant it literally in that case.
Back in the 20s, they told the truth.
I like the John Hines quote too. He's I think he's kiteling it a little bit. This was his comment after the game. You need to have consistency, and each month presents different challenges. There's still a lot of hockey left to be played. What's encouraging is that he had a good offseason, made some real commitments to show he wants to be able to get the best out of himself. We know he has NHL talent, but now he's learning the other parts, whether it was the game or being a starting goalie or how important sometimes some things around the game are, whether it's nutrition, your rest, recovery. Practice is a big one. Let's keep taking it in short spurts with him. And as long as he continues to do what he's doing, he'll get an opportunity to play. That sounds like a coach who is well aware of his goalie's history, and he doesn't want him to get the big head too fast. Doesn't it? It sounds like he's saying,
yeah, for sure.
Again, this is great. This is wonderful. This is, in some ways, historic, and we'll ride it out. He's already, the head coach has already acknowledged how well he's doing because he's gone from having him as a backup goalie to Gus Bus to now we're going every other game, right? Basically, we're alternating goaltenders for the present and perhaps the immediate future as well.
Tiny Thompson, by the way, was the tallest player on his team as a teenager. That's why they gave him the nickname Tiny. So at the time, it was ironic.
Yeah.
He played at times for the Duluth Hornets and the Minneapolis Millers.
Even localer angle.
So we can't. This is the second time something like this has happened for a Minnesota-led goaltender.
I love this. Discovery Radio. I had no idea.
Tiny Thompson.
Yeah. He was kind of one of us for a while.
Go Millers.
That's too good. So, again, we don't have a banner out of this yet. I understand all of that, but it's the perfect kind of angle and story that we wallow in our misery that why can't we ever steal somebody? Well, right now it looks like they stole somebody from a franchise desperately in need for a goaltender. And as it turns out, what we gave up was not nearly enough. Basically, we had to give up our own one. You know, we swapped spots, and we gave up a number 3. And that all looks very, very good, very, very promising right now. And again, not so long ago, it didn't look like anything because it didn't look like he was going anywhere. But maybe it's the classic light bulb off in the head. Let me ask you this question as we go to break, too. So if you believe I believe the most important position in hockey is goalie.
Sure.
It's not going out on a limb.
You're the ambassador.
Other people might say center, scoring, so whatever. But I would say goalie. We think check that box right now. Okay. In football, we would assume it's quarterback. We can't check that box right now. What player in baseball, like what position in baseball? For me, it's pitcher.
It used to be starting pitcher.
I would say still starting pitcher. We have a chance to semi-check that box, but we're apparently wanting to erase one of the checks.
At least one.
At least one, maybe both of them, correct? And maybe with Buxton on the way as well for an everyday player. And then, what sport am I leaving out? Basketball. What's considered the box you need to check in basketball? What position? Is it a position?
It's probably just a guy that can get you a bucket.
Is it? One would assume it's what Anthony Edwards represents.
I think so.
At his very best. Once upon a time, might have been point guard.
Yeah.
But the league has changed a little bit on that.
It has.
Give me your thoughts on that via the Bradshaw and Bright KFAN text line 64686. We'll set up the rest of the program as well when we come back. Writes, I think basketball's most important player is a two-way guy, regardless of position. Slightly expand out. Baseball is up the middle. Catcher, shortstop, center field. Football, center or line, quarterback. Hockey, goalie, and center. Basketball needs 2 or 3 star wings, I think he's trying to say, or center, power forward. That's from
4 of the 5 positions.
Yeah, Hugo guy. Well, maybe he's just saying those. I don't know. I'm a little confused by that one. NBA's most important position is ownership And GM goes out and gets the best players, pays them the most. Star players run the show, SGA, Joker, and Ant. I think Oklahoma City has still only lost one game.
They're 20-1, yeah.
I thought they were 22-1. All
right, is that what it is now?
And the game they lost shouldn't count because I think it was the second night of a back-to-back in Portland. So I'm surprised that the league is even counting that, to be honest with you.
21-1.
It's 21-1. Okay, split the difference. What's our show lineup today? We've got Mike Conley at the bottom of the hour, correct?
Yep, coming up about 7 minutes from now.
And Mason, your face in studio between 4 and 5. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And then, so we do think we're going to get Kessler on the way back? Or is
I think we're getting Kessler.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we're getting him. We're out at 6 tonight, as you mentioned, for Gopher Hoops. So he would join at 5:15.
There's a lot to get to with him, that's for sure. So we'll try to get caught up if we have a chance to with Special K. Dan opening with Wild Hockey Talk. Toys for Tots must have put him in a holiday mood. We're just trying to follow the story. I mean, it's not that difficult. What I'm learning from the hockey community is that you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. You know, if we don't start the show talking about the red-hot Minnesota Wild and the kid goaltender, it's, well, if you weren't going to talk about it today, when were you going to talk about it? Then you talk about, well, looks like you're jumping on the bandwagon. You know, must be in a holiday spirit. Seriously? And you wonder, hockey guys, why people accuse you of that much defensiveness? It's just take the victory. Speaking of victory, 612 guy, are you going to give Billy Guerin any credit? Well, it was implied. Guerin made the pick, didn't he?
I would imagine so.
He made the trade.
And he was very specific about the development of Jesper.
Correct.
He talks about it a lot. Like, you can't, he did the old KOC, organizations fail goalies more than goalies fail organizations.
Yes.
And that's why they kept him in Iowa and kind of bounced him back and forth and didn't want to give him too much too soon. Even though his debut last year, if you remember, was a meat grinder. I think it was Dallas.
Yes, it was. Well, it's because we screwed up. We screwed him up going to the three goalie system.
That's true. Maybe.
Remember?
Yeah, I do remember vaguely.
We tried to get Guerin going on that.
But he was very particular about how he should be brought along.
That's true. That's true.
Obviously, he's not done yet. He just started, but it's a good sign of how he's playing, and that was all part of this.
This is an interesting. This is a Hugo guy a second time. Or actually first. Self-awareness, love to hear it from him last night, post-game, about his maturity level or lack thereof last year. How quickly will the Minnesota hockey community get in his head and mess him all up? Wow. Is Hugo guy, is that really a Johnny Athletic burner account, do you think? I think they could be. I mean, because who was complaining yet again about the inconsistency regarding to commitment to the defensive side of the floor of your Minnesota Timberwolves? It was Johnny Athletic.
Yeah, among others.
Ain't no inconsistency about the way the Wild is committing itself to defense right now.
No, sir.
Between the goaltenders and what's happening in front of them as well, I don't believe. I'll keep some of the other texts in mind, on key positions. Basketball is a little funkier, but I'll tell you, man, everything feels better in hockey if you have big-time goaltending, and in baseball if you have big-time starting pitching. I don't care what anybody says. I know about the up-the-middle stuff, and that it all fits together, but why do they matter? Because they set the tone, right? Almost regardless of what your offense is doing, they can keep you in the game. Whether the game is hockey, goaltender, or baseball, starting pitcher, right? Starting pitcher throws, well, I was about to say 8 shutout innings. That's
different
from a
now.
Different era, but it sets a tone in a way that makes everything seem cleaner and more possible, regardless of what you are doing offensively. Mike Conley, point guard, Minnesota Timberwolves, will get his reaction to a couple of interesting things said by his head coach in the wake of the Wolves' really way too messy, but nevertheless crucial victory against the terrible Pelicans, and more when we return.
Randall sees 2 in the corner. DiVincenzo out to Reed. Extra pass, Conley. Yes! Corner puck! bucket for Mike Conley. From down 10 to up 10. Wolves 110, Spurs 100. Beautiful ball movement, and results in a Mike Conley wide open look.
As I mentioned, Glenn Mason will join in studio about 4 o'clock or so, and then we expect to visit with Pat Kessler, but Mike Conley, you just heard our favorite play-by-play guy hit a very key three-pointer against the Spurs to help save them in that game, joins us via the Connecticut Water Systems hotline. I'm assuming, what do you get, 3 days in New Orleans? Is that correct?
Yeah, 3 days.
Are you a New Orleans? Would you classify yourself as a New Orleans guy?
I mean, it's cool. I like the South. Used to being down this way,
yeah.
But I have a good time when I'm here. But yeah, I've been here so many times now. I probably stay in my room more often than not.
Well, that's you know what? That's probably there's probably a few players over the years, Mike Conley, have said that's what I should have done. Right? That's for sure. There could be the occasional temptation in that regard. I want to get to a quote. Get your reaction to a quote from your head coach. I think he said this before last night's game. Kind of started the season a little bored. That's not something that you want to admit to, but a team that's had 2 deep runs, I think we just maybe started the season a little bit flat and bored, and just realizing you got to put the work in. Now, that might be just great honesty from the head coach. You know that's not something fans ever want to hear, but is there some truth to that, or what do you make of those comments?
I think it, obviously Coach has a good pulse of our team and understands, the ins and outs of what we need to be and who we want to be for a season. But as players, I think you come into every season and you come in with the right mindset. You come in with, you want to come out here and be the best team you can be, and individually and as a whole. And, I think making 2 big runs like we did in the last 2 seasons, you get shorter off seasons. You get, fixated on the idea of getting back to that point so much that you can bypass some of the smaller steps that get in the way of that route of getting back to that situation. And we still have a lot of young guys. We still have a lot of guys who, are navigating that, and it's in front of them, and it takes time. It's not something that we take for granted at all, that we think that we're just going to make it back. But you can see how a lot of guys' minds are, wanting to get back to where we were at, but we still have to do the work and still have to do the small things to get us there.
Does all of that make the Oklahoma City Thunder, defending champions, 21-1, an outlier?
It makes, them being who they are is amazing. It just goes down to, the culture they have, the players that they have acquired, the way that team is put together, and Shea and all those guys just buying into a way of playing, and they do it every single night, regardless if it's the 14th worst team or the second best team in the league or wherever they're playing that night. They don't play the opponent. They go out there and implement their game no matter who they're out there playing against, and that's the impressive part of what they're doing.
It is pretty astonishing for sure. So last night it felt to me like it followed a pattern we've seen a few games where defense looked very casual to me early, and then you run the risk of encouraging a team with a terrible record that, hey, maybe this is our night. Maybe we can win a game. Maybe we can steal a victory. And then you guys got a lot more serious defensively, turned things as it was. It still felt very, very nerve-wracking the way the thing played out. What did you see last night?
Oh, yeah, I think that was evident. I thought we had stretches where we were trying to do the right thing, but there was parts of the game we just were not able to get a hold of early. And, they were playing with a lot of pace, and they were getting up and down in transition and kind of beating us down the floor before our defense could get set. And that's how they were kind of getting into a good rhythm. And once we kind of, lost the lead and had to dig our way back into the game, I thought guys should start taking away those things, taking away the easy opportunities, and trying to create more physicality defensively, and and impose our will offensively. And when both those things are going our way, we start playing better basketball.
Well, Edwards obviously hit a huge second half. I think he was 10 for 16 from the floor. What I liked the best was the tying basket to the hoop, driving all the way in. Didn't take a fadeaway, which he can hit. We all know he can hit a lot of shots. He can hit from all over the place. But I encourage that. I like to see more of that. And I know sometimes the defenses take that away, but I loved that he just went downhill and went to the basket.
Yeah, we told him at the timeout, man, you got to get in the paint, you got to go make a play, and he did just that, and that's exactly what we want from him. And there's so many good things that happens when he's able to get downhill and get to the rim. They're going to have to foul him to stop him most times, and if not, he's going to finish. So he gave our team second life with that bucket and gave us a chance to win.
Mike Conley joining us. The Wolves have a day off. They're going to play the Pelicans again, I believe, tomorrow night. So, it's interesting. You've been around. We've talked a lot over the years with you about how long you've been in this league. And you're at a point in your career now where I feel like every other week there is speculation, nationally speaking, about, is this a point guard the Wolves might consider? Is this it's already coming up since Chris Paul was released, whether that might be something that would interest the Wolves. Are you adult enough on this, like you are about everything else, to say it's just, it comes with the territory, or do you take it more personally? How do you process what seems to be this sort of ongoing feeling of, to the Wolves, are they going to stand pat, or might they make a big move and supplement themselves at the point guard position?
Yeah, no, I've always handled this stuff like I handle everything, man. I'm no stranger to being traded. I'm not a stranger from being in trade talks. For the majority of my young career in Memphis, they were drafting guards every other year, and I was on the trade block early my first 2 years, and so it just became part of what I thought the NBA was. So just handling that has always been a big thing for me, and knowing that that's out of my control. I go out there and play the minutes I play. I play, as hard as I can. If a team wants me here, I'm here. If I'm not, I'll help whoever I have to help. So it is part of our society, our game today, and a lot of speculation every day, depending on if you win or lose, or how your team looks on a weekly basis. So just handling it how I handle it, and just trying to take control of what I can.
Would you still, in your heart of hearts, rather be starting?
As a competitor, I think everybody wants to be a starter in the league. But for our team, honestly, I think I'm in the right spot, and I think I am. I think I'm Dante and that group is playing really well together. They play off each other very well, and I think it's best for our team. So so I'm happy, excited for all the guys, and still excited for the opportunity I have right now, and just going to keep trying to go forward with it and get better with it each week.
One of the tough things I think one of the places where it's challenging for Finchie to thread the needle, though, is who to play at the end of the game. We've had some, as you know, with 2-3 minutes to go, some meltdowns where there have been either a series of bad turnovers or maybe a couple of dumb fouls, maybe a couple of missed free throws that all contribute to big leads evaporating. And in Finchie's world, he may say, this is the lineup that largely got us the lead, so therefore I want to kind of stick with it. And sometimes that means you're not on the floor. And I still feel like they miss what I think at your best you represent in those situations where you're the guy who's going to likely, get the inbounds pass, get the ball from out of bounds. I still think that's part of the challenge for Finchie, even if, as you say, in terms of the balancing the lineups, it might make more sense at this point for you to come off the bench. What do you think?
But I think coach is going to make the right decisions at the end of the game, and some games I'm in there, some games I'm not. It's obviously when I am in there, I'm trying to manage the game in a lot of different ways, and being that voice, understanding time and score, not letting us lose our minds over stuff, and kind of resettling things down is what I can really, really provide for the unit we have. Is a lot of the guys out there maybe not being in their true position and not having to bring the ball up in uncomfortable positions or in uncomfortable situations. So just trying to, when I do get the opportunity to be out there, is to be as much help as I can. And when I'm not out there, just, on the bench, just guiding those guys and trying to prepare them and trying to make sure that they have everything in front of them to hopefully minimize, any more mistakes that we have going forward, especially this season.
A texter named Linwood Township guy wants to know from you, well, why doesn't Ant get the calls other superstars get, or is the contact minimal and he just wants every touch to be a foul? I'll broaden the question out this way. I've always felt there is an art to attracting foul calls, and some players just get better at it than others, and we can, Gilgeous Alexander is a good example. Some people feel like he pushes off subtly with that left arm on almost every drive to the basket and gets way too many calls that should have actually go the other way. I look at it in part as, well, I think he is good at drawing contact as well. Give me your assessment of where Ant is in the area of drawing contact and what goes into a really gifted player adding that to his arsenal.
Well, yeah, I think that's something that Ant is still working on. He hasn't made he hasn't put that much of a priority on that part of the game for himself. He's a pure scorer, man. He can score in so many ways, and he's, mastered so many levels of scoring that he's not looking ever to get a foul. He's looking to go score. And I think that's the difference. You get Luka, you get Shea, and these guys who are playing games. They're playing the mind game. They're playing the leverage game, and checking where your hands are at, seeing if your arms are out, what they can reach for, what they can, kind of run into, and get 2 free throws here and there to kind of rest at the free throw line. Those things that Ant's going to have to learn, to kind of throw that in there here and there if he wants to start to get these same type of calls, because Ant's just too strong, too physically gifted that he gets hit on the wrist or arm, he just goes right through it and goes and lays it up or goes to try to finish it, while other guys might lose the ball or it's more obvious foul. So it's kind of like the gift and the curse for him. He's just so gifted that he's able to score such a pure manner that he doesn't kind of get into the gimmicky side of things, but it's become part of the art of basketball, and getting to the free throw line is a big part of scoring nowadays.
Yeah, I've always wondered too if body type enters into it. Obviously, Gilgeous Alexander is slighter. I think Edwards is built to me almost more like a football player, and that used to be always the deal on Shaq. There's a lot of people who felt that Shaq actually should have gotten a lot more calls, but because he was a big body, that the refs didn't give him the benefit of the doubt. And Ant, to me, looks better built, almost like he can handle the contact. That's not a reason to not call it, but sometimes I wonder if that enters into the decision-making when it's, between a player built like him and, let's say, a bit of a, leaner, more willowy player.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's happened, in the past with even guys like LeBron, like you said, Shaq. Like LeBron's probably the most recent example where you get him going downhill and guys are pulling and grabbing, slapping, and he's just running through you and laying it up or dunking it, and there's no foul called. And most guys, that probably is a foul call. And Ant's kind of scratching that territory where he gets downhill and he takes off, or he exposes his arms in the paint and gets slapped a few times. They're not, going to call it unless he loses the ball. But unfortunately, he's not going to lose the ball. He's strong. He's got great hands, and he's still able to finish through a lot of those plays. So, it's, like I said, that's that kind of gift and the curse of having that body type. And as far as the referee calls and stuff like that's concerned, but it's something that hopefully he'll continue to get better at and study it, and something that he can add to his game. One
last thing about the current state of the club itself is one of the team leaders and the consciences of this club. Are you satisfied with the position that this team is in at this point? Are you saying, no, we should have actually a better record? How do you decide, when to come down hard, laying out your own views as one of the player leaders of where this thing is at, and when do you just sort of, bide your time and let the thing play out a little bit? What would you, if somebody had not watched your team all season thus far, said, I haven't seen anything of the Wolves, what would you say the condition of the club is at this point?
I would say that so far it's just been inconsistent, I would say, because from from what we, believe our standard to be on a nightly basis, we haven't brought that on a game-to-game basis, and we've done it for a 4-game stretch here and there, and then, take a game or two where we don't look like ourselves, or you throw in like a Phoenix game or a Sac game or games where we had in control and still lost, and it kind of puts a sour taste in what we're, building at the moment, and so it's easy for that to overshadow the things we're doing good and the things that we're, changing and accomplishing. So, like I said, it's been inconsistent, but I think it's the building blocks of doing the smaller things more consistently and doing the things that help affect winning on both ends of the floor from everybody has been picking up, and headed in the right direction, every week. And the record is the record. Yeah, we feel like we should have a couple more wins. Obviously with, blown leads late in games and stuff like that. But outside of that, the direction that we're headed, I think, is the right one.
Last but most importantly, we got to, I guess, try to delve into your handshake history, because I'm learning that you basically have a different handshake for every player. Tell me the history here, whether this has been true every place you've played, if this is something new here, and so how did all this stuff come about?
Man, I've had a handshake with people, I guess some people for like 20 years, man. I've got handshakes that date back a long time, and it's always been just a part of my deal. Like, if we're going to be teammates, we're going to be on the court together, like, you got to have a handshake with me. So, I even got Yo on to get a handshake with me the other day. So he's probably my newest one, but I just try to build a personal connection with everybody. Something that regardless if we're teammates or not, the first thing we see each other, it's just like muscle memory. So just a cool way to keep everybody kind of together.
Well, I see. My memory's so bad, though. I'd have trouble remembering them all. I mean, it's easy for you to remember the distinctions between each and every one of them. You never screw up and mix up, ants with Randalls or anything like that.
Never. It's a weird thing. It's like I don't know. It's like the cues. You look at the person, you automatically know. Muscle memory pops in. It's like not even a question. You're gonna get it right. So I do have a handshake with two of my nephews who are twins, and sometimes I get confused between them two. I'm like, I can't remember which one is which right now. I'm in the middle of a handshake, and I just kind of follow their lead, and I'm like, okay, there it is. So it's just it's fun. Like, I have handshakes with my kids, everybody. So it's just a cool thing to have.
Do you have a handshake with Tim Conley?
We go the professional route, man. It's either it's normal handshake or just a little fist bump, man. Okay,
all right. How about A-Rod?
A-Rod's normal too. A-Rod's normal too.
So,
I don't see him. I'm not around him that much to be able to do it, but maybe we have to do that.
So executives, maybe it's a little bit different, than teammates and relatives, that sort of thing. Maybe that's the distinction for you, eh? A little more formal.
Yeah, a little bit more corporate.
Yeah, exactly. Well, enjoyed the conversation as always. Enjoy your time in New Orleans, and we'll talk in a couple of weeks. Thanks, sir.
All right, sounds good. Appreciate it.
Mike Conley, Timberwolves point guard, kind enough to join us via the Connecticut Water Systems hotline. Kessler is scheduled for the 5 o'clock hour of today's broadcast, and contractually, we're obligated, I guess, between 4 and 5 today, again, to chat with Glenn Mason. Is that true?
It's true. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Well, it's because you've missed the last 4 of them.
It's true. I've missed the last couple.
I mean,
haven't seen Mason in a while. Haven't seen Kessler in a while. It's been good catching up here as they wait.
Do you know what the one constant has been through all those shows you've missed? Indiana has still not lost a football game.
Well, I've been here for a lot of victories, too.
That's true.
So if you're thinking about using me as a good luck charm.
That's not it?
I was here for victories, too. I don't know. Yeah.
Okay. Well, no, I just meant that's the constant. So we're doing Hoosier Hotline. We'll maybe do a little bit of Gopher stuff. I got to get back to the Lane Kiffin story with him. We discussed that some last week, but now that it's seemingly resolved, did you see, I'm sure he saw, the rather interesting schism or reaction in this case from one of the Ole Miss players allegedly in the room to something that Kiffin had sent out as a statement.
I did see that.
Pretty juicy stuff there as well.
And if the player's telling the truth, what's Lane Kiffin thinking?
Yeah, well, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that's not the first time a coach has fibbed about reaction
I suppose
in that
you're right.
situation. And I'll give you my own example involving a guy that Mace almost went to work for, Vince Dooley, when I was covering Georgia, and Dooley was flirting with going back to his alma mater in Georgia's national championship season. So there's a lot of meat on the bone this week. Mace in your face is next.